It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, we're joined by guest host Nick Dimbleby to talk about Octas in Africa, his undying love for the Freelander, and then we talk about Land Rovers in the movies, John Wick. And now, without further delay, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Nick, welcome. World-renowned photographer and just generally a nice guy. Nick Dimbleby co-hosting with me this week while Ike is fleeing whatever animal or native tribe he has run into in Africa. Nick, welcome. Good to see you, as always.
Thank you. Yeah, no, great to be here, I must say. And having seen some of Ike's pictures, he's definitely getting familiar with the wildlife, isn't he?
Yeah, he sure is. Or they're getting familiar with him. One of the two. They've accepted a tribe of monkeys have accepted him as one of their own. And and he's immersed himself in the culture.
Feeling at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure if you heard last week, but we were having, Liza and I, a conversation about if he looks more. I think he looks a lot like David Harbour, but for some reason in my brain I had it switched with David Tennant. And
Dr.
doesn't look like David Tennant. Yeah, it doesn't look like David Tennant.
No,
but he does look like David Harbour, I think, from Stranger Things. I think he's a spitting image, that guy. So anyways, well, this week in the news, there's a little bit of an article on the Global Newswire about ECD Auto Designs. And they're they're expanding their Founders Edition exclusive inventory lineup. Now these
isn't that an oxymoron? You can't expand an exclusive, right?
Well, there you go. That's exactly what these guys, they figured out how to do it. They're in Kissimmee, Florida, which is usually a warning sign. Anything in Florida is always a little challenging, but the ECD guys they're a cool bunch. I've been invited down to go in and check out their facilities a couple of times. I know they make an electric Defender conversion.
They do, that's right.
Yeah, but they also do these conversions that are essentially for footballers. They're the most wheel archy, roll cagey, murdered out Defenders that one could possibly want.
Looking at this picture, they appear to be fitting or retrofitting what look like P38 Range Rover wheels.
Yes, I think that's right. I think they are. They've got the fancy wheels. I imagine they have sort of leather interiors, all of that
Probably.
Sort of situation. Mm-hmm. What's your stance on the Chelsea Tractor upgraded sort of Defenders?
So Chelsea Tractor, I must admit, I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to Defenders. I do like them to look like they left Solihull.
Yeah.
So that's really my sort of stance on that, really. I don't know if you saw my own Defender, my 100-inch.
Yeah, your 100-inch.
That's what I like in a Defender. That's It's
very simple, very simple, very clean.
Yeah, very clean. Yeah,
it was good
like
enough
myself.
for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. I feel like her cars, of which we've both been in several times.
She wasn't there at the time, though.
She wasn't, unfortunately. No. She had passed, and that one time we broke into the palace. But
don't talk about it.
Yeah, we can't talk about that. But MI5 will neither confirm nor deny. But maybe they might deny, but they're going to get in a huge amount of trouble if they do. Her cars were not particularly uprated.
Not showy at all.
Queen of goddamn England. So
that's it.
If it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me.
For me, I mean, you could say the Defender Land Rover is a very British thing, and I think if anything, us British are known for our understatement. We like
that's exactly right.
Be discreet.
Yes, that's a great. Specifically in cuisine, I think is where it's
discreet cuisine. But I think the key is don't shout too loud. I think it's you need to
Yeah.
You need to have the capability and the looks, but not too much in your face. I think that's where we're at. Maybe that's why. I mean, ECD based in Florida, and I guess
they are.
I guess it's a bit more shouty over there. I don't know.
It is. I mean, if you look at the Jeep community with 400-inch tires and like teethy growling grills and things like this, it's very popular. Very popular. People really like.
I like modified vehicles, but I like it modified in quite a discreet way. I think that's my
fit for purpose. Yeah,
fit for purpose, but right? not too loud. Yeah. Discreet.
Yeah. And these cars apparently are fitted with up to an LT4, GM LT4, which is a 650 horsepower engine. So it's interesting that they're not using LS1s, but they've decided to go with the General Motors version, essentially, of that.
600 and how many horsepower?
650, give or take. So that is right around the sort of limit of what that frame, I'm sure, can bear. And
it isn't like splitting itself from the back end.
It very well may. Yeah.
It does seem a little bit excessive. I mean, I remember there was a thing with Tom Barton. You remember Tom Barton? Yeah. He was one of the original engineers. Mm-hmm. So his comment was he was absolutely violently against coil springs. For him, coil springs were the enemy. And the reason for that was because they made the ride too comfortable. And if you were too comfortable, you drove faster. Therefore, you were more likely to break something. So for him, leaf springs were where it's at because you were
limiting factor.
You were so uncomfortable. You drove slowly, and that preserved the vehicle. So,
it certainly did. It would last a lot longer. You're not going to drive it as often because you can't. It's paralyzing to drive it for long periods of time. And this is a good point.
So I'd love to see what Tom. I mean, sadly, he passed probably about 15, 20 years ago. But I would love to know what Tom Barton would make of LS4 engine Defender. I think it would be
into a Defender that is meant for a whopping 120 horsepower. Yeah, no, it's true. It's interesting, but I mean, these guys are thankfully not quite as bad as some of the ultra body kit Defenders. There are certainly people who will add 6 or 7 additional inches per side of plastic onto the outside of a Defender, and I'm not sure that really increases the performance or aerodynamics. But hey, if that's what you're into,
that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the key, isn't it? I mean, it's one of the reasons why, I think the new Defender works because they have actually. I mean, I know it's quite a square vehicle, but it is there is aerodynamics involved, and a lot of clever stuff goes underneath.
Yep.
And obviously things like the Octa. I mean, the Octa is 660 horsepower,
something like that. It's an insane amount.
But it's so roughly the same as this ECD.
That's right.
But at least they have made an effort to do some sort of aerodynamics and stability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The suspension in that thing is above and beyond, to say the very least. And these cars, I imagine, are. I mean, even if you had the greatest Bowler uprated suspension and redid all the geometry and everything, the end of the day, it's still a classic Defender. There's only so much you could do.
Great
even then,
in a straight line.
Great in a straight line. Very, very true. Very true. And slowly in just about any direction, but not fast. Yeah. Never fast.
Anyway, I'm sure the interiors are lovely.
Yep. They are indeed. And I'm sure they have a great stereo and all of that sort of stuff that the Defender was never originally fitted with.
Can you actually hear the stereo with that engine, do you think?
I can't imagine you can. And it wouldn't matter if you could hear it because the heat coming through that firewall, it would just be immense. It is just not meant for that kind of thing. So, and I've been in a few LS converted Defenders that people have done an extremely nice job of, the best ones you can get. And they're neat, but even then, it's sort of like, it doesn't feel quite right. Something's a bit off. So anyways, I would say probably for the price of one of these, you could fetch yourself an Octa. And I think that may be a better way to put 600 plus horsepower into Land Rover Defender. But we'll see if they get the Octa shipping. So speaking of Her Majesty's Octas, yes, you have just returned from a tour of the world, specifically Africa, with the team there showing off the Octa. We've now heard a lot of those reports, a lot of the feedback. Some of those articles are coming out, and everything seems to be pretty stellar. People really like that car. It's a bit bonkers that it's actually a real thing, and they're actually making it. It's amazing. But how was the trip, and what did you get up to while you were over there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a fabulous trip, and I mean, it is, as you say, it is a fabulous car. I mean, it's one of those cars that sort of feels like it defies the laws of physics a little bit.
Right.
I mean, obviously I work with Land Rover, so You know, I'm very much, you know, in line with what they're thinking. But genuinely, it is a great car. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's all the car you ever need.
Yeah.
The only problem is it's very expensive. So, but the launch event we did in South Africa was really a great illustration of its breadth of capabilities in Cape Town, and then headed up north through a place called Wellington onto the Bainskloof Pass, which is a lovely twisty mountain pass, and then heading up into the hills towards the Cederberg mountain range. And then basically the roads got progressively less tarmac and less wide. So tarmac gave way to gravel, and again, I mean, the car is absolutely amazing on gravel.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember the first time many years ago driving on gravel in a previous Defender. You know, it was basically 50 kilometers an hour was like the golden spot. And that was the sort of thing where you could you were sort of jumping around a little bit, but it was a good speed. It felt you were making progress, but you weren't losing your head. Whereas Octa just makes mincemeat of gravel. It's basically 100 kilometers an hour, 120 kilometers an hour, 130 kilometers an hour.
Right,
not a problem. Not a
wow.
problem. Just the stability and the confidence it gives you is incredible.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the things that it's like driving on snow. Everyone says like studded tires,
right,
make you the absolute snow legend. You're Ari Vatanen.
That's right.
Until you start braking, and then it's like, But the engineers with Octa, they have actually done a special ABS system. So so when you're in Octa mode, the ABS braking system is actually tuned to work with gravel. So normally with ABS, obviously, you push the brake on gravel on a slippy surface. Yeah. The ABS, because it doesn't know it's on gravel, it thinks, oh, I'm about to lose control, and obviously it releases the brakes to allow you to steer, but of course, it doesn't make you stop.
Right.
So what they've done with Octa, with the Octa mode, is they've said, well, we're going to be on gravel, so we're going to make you stop. And it's an incredible system, the way it works. It really does on the surface that, I mean, when we were a kid, you remember sliding on the when you sort of came to a sliding stop? Well, this thing just stops you pretty much stone dead. It's an amazing system. So, there's some clever folk that are doing this stuff. Anyway, so that was gravel, and then from there we went on to sort of a narrower, what I think you'd probably term a gnarly track. Pretty rocky, pretty heavy going, and in fact, so I drove that track in a Octa and also drove it in a standard Defender, in a new Defender.
Yeah, new Defender.
And again, the difference is chalk and cheese. It's unbelievable because of the Octa's suspension system. I won't go too much into technical, but it's basically because it's hydraulically operated, all the dampers. It means that they don't have to have anti-roll bars, which means that the suspension can be made to be really soft and compliant, which as a result means that when you're driving on sort of pretty gnarly terrain, the car is really sort of, it feels like a Camel Trophy 110.
Right.
But with knackered shock absorbers. So the car's all like loose and
right.
As a result, the ride is fantastic. So it really is, quite impressive. Wow. And then back onto the gravel again. So you're back into the more dynamic mode. And then they had an area called the Octa Arena, which was like a little rally stage. And there you could really let rip. And that's, again, they've tuned it so the back end is a little bit light, so you can have a bit of fun, a little bit of playing with the back end, and obviously you can be as gentle or as hard as you like, and it really flatters the driver, which is nice. Right. And then there was an overnight in a place called Bushman's Kloof, which was up in the north. And then in the morning it was a fairly early start, and then out to the sand dunes. So again, fantastic. The good old tiny cactus mode.
Yeah, tiny cactus. It is my favorite mode. Actually, just chatting with folks that do off-road training and things like that, they say that Land Rover's sand mode, period, full stop, is the best one there is of any of these vehicles that have intelligent terrain response and things like that. They all pretty much agree. Even Jeep people, Toyota people, everybody agrees. Yeah, the Defender's sand mode is exceptional. And I imagine the Octa takes that to a completely different level.
Totally. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to visit the JLR facility in Dubai, which is where they do a lot of their or most of their desert and sand optimization. So basically, just working out how to make the car perform better in all types of sand conditions. And there are some amazing people working there. I mean, they know the desert, they know the sand, and they know what they need to be doing to make the vehicle, as you say, you push it into sand mode, into tiny cactus mode, and the car transforms itself in terms of one of the most noticeable things is the way it picks up. So, and in fact, it's a little top tip for those people that have terrain response in their cars. If you want to do fast acceleration off the traffic lights, put it into sand mode, because it gives you maximum torque at very low revs. It's a little trip. You want to just try that maybe at the traffic lights. Just try it in standard and try it in sand mode.
Next time you're drag racing in your new Defender, that's the
sand mode
surefire way to win. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good to know.
Absolutely.
Good to know.
So but that's one of the things. So 'cause obviously when you're taking off in sand, you want that big initial spurt of power to get you to go, and that has it. So Octa, it's that in spades. It's really it really does the business. And of course, you've got that 660 horsepower just on your side to be able to keep you going. And it's you shouldn't get stuck if, as long as you're reading the sand right and doing your thing.
Be all right.
You shouldn't get stuck. It's
I would get stuck. Liza and Jenna would not get stuck, but I certainly would. That's amazing. And it looked like there was some sort of expedition prepared cars along with you. Like there was one sort of built out, almost like the Trek cars are, with some traction mats and winches and all that kit, which is interesting because I think there were some questions about, could you fit a winch to an Octa? Can you do some of that stuff because of how different the car is to the standard car? But it looks like you can. You can fit it out that way.
So those vehicles were the support team. So basically there were, I think, 3 or 4 vehicles with each convoy that was going. The idea being that if there was ever any issues with cars getting stuck or whatever, they were able to be sort of like the first responders. I mean, there weren't any issues, so that was good. Yep. But as you say, the winch in particular, it's pretty special because obviously, Octa is a bit of a level above the standard Defender. So the winch actually comes in a crushed carbon fiber frame.
Wow.
And I kid you not. So,
yeah.
So it's what would normally be, I guess, a steel mount.
Or aluminum or something.
In the case of the Octa, it's crushed carbon fiber. So you actually have this crushed carbon fiber look. And I think it also has, so I never saw it with the cover on, but there actually has a crushed carbon fiber cover that fits over the front as well. So it hides the winch when you're driving normally.
When you're driving on the road.
But obviously these guys had it off all the time. So, but it's pretty cool. So, and again, they made a lot of effort to make sure the winch is concealed and actually back, so it doesn't impact the front approach angle.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a well thought out bit of kit. And again, obviously you've got the reef racks on there, and they fitted spare wheel, high lift jack. Mat tracks, of course. You have to have those.
Were those crushed carbon fiber?
They were, but maybe they're missing a trick there.
Yeah, they may have to get that.
They're missing a trick, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely missing a trick.
Some crushed
and of
carbon
course,
fiber
ladder and spice rack.
Oh, you got to have the spice rack. Yeah. What do they have in their spice rack?
Full complement. So
everything.
oregano.
They got it all.
Tarragon.
Yeah. You have to have the little turmeric. Yeah. No, fantastic.
It was good. So it's a bit of chili.
Yeah, a little chili in there. Yeah, maybe we are working hard here. The Underpowered Hour Labs is hard at work on a foam insert for the spice rack, which would allow you to store your Nando's Peri Peri bottles perfectly safely in there, so you have it on the ready. I'd also thought maybe an external tap wouldn't be a terrible
Not bad idea.
You wouldn't even have to open it then. You could just
Peri Peri on tap.
On tap, absolutely. And it is my favorite. And you, of course, were in Africa while I was in England.
That's right.
And I had at least a couple of trips to Nando's, not nearly as many as I would have liked. But
would you care to give us a review?
I don't know if we have time for that. I do think Ike is
he's working on it.
He's working on it. He's hard at work, and maybe you never know. South African. Is there Nando's in South Africa, or is it just a South African brand?
That's a good question. I haven't seen any Nando's there.
Yeah, it's weird because that's where they're from. Apparently, maybe it's just their founder is from South Africa. Nando is from South Africa.
Nando's from South Africa, and he moved to the UK and set
That's
it up.
right. And he's like, here's what the UK needs. Some
spicy chicken.
Ah, so good. Man, I love it. It's so good. So speaking of spicy chickens,
yes,
we are two of a very elite breed of individuals. Indeed. And that is, of course, Freelander owners, which are few and proud and not always able to get to where they're going. But in your case, that's not what's happening. You are the proud owner of what I have to say is a absolutely gorgeous yellow 3-door Freelander, and that is a rarity, but B, I think is my favorite config of that car. But you're driving it day to day. It's a somewhat daily driver for you.
It is. So I have 2 cars that I use regularly, which is my Discovery 3 LR3,
which is a great car. Yeah,
great car, and
a manual, which we can't get here in the United States. Never could. So that's pretty
great.
Cool. Diesel manual,
great form. Diesel manual, cloth seats, love it. Absolutely great. And then my 1.8 Rover K series manual Freelander 3-door. Which I paid the princely sum of 720 of His Majesty's pounds for.
That's right. That's right. I remember you were in Carmel when that happened.
Yeah. I was asleep when I bid for it.
That's right. And I remember the morning you woke up, and when the first thing that you said to me was, "I think I bought a Freelander." Which is
with a stained face.
A dollar amount it usually doesn't do it. But what power of investment over that 700 are you at now? Like famously, ours is 10-1 at this point, maybe more than that. But we've spent about 10 times the purchase price on ours.
Yeah, I'm probably not quite that far.
Yeah,
but it's over. Well, it's 4 figures. It's 4 figures. So I think it's significantly more than the purchase price, but I think so. I took it to a Freelander specialist. So we have a garage here, which all they do is Freelanders. That's literally their whole business is Freelander 1s, Freelander 2s.
Imagine they would be very busy. Yeah,
exactly.
Very busy. Yeah. That's very definitely busy. I wish we had that here. I could use a Freelander.
It's a business opportunity.
I would just maybe park it there because it's going to be there constantly anyways. Maybe just rent a space from them. But yeah, that's and so what did you have to do?
Yeah, so I mean it was I bought it blind. It was an eBay purchase. I saw it. I thought it looked great. I love the yellow. I love the 3-door. That was the spec for me. So and I was like, yep. Let's give it a go. So picked it up from down in Devon, down in the southwest of England, and then made my way back, dropped it straight off. Didn't even bother to try and drive it. Just took it straight to the garage because I figured that there was no point to even.
There's no point in trying. I mean, it's funny. I did the same thing with mine. Yeah. It was a miracle that it started and went even that far. But
it drove onto the trailer, so I thought that was a good sign.
Good, that's good. Yeah,
drove off the trailer as well, which was good. Anyway, so then it went to these guys, the Freelander specialists down in Norfolk, in East Anglia. And they had it for a couple of months, basically just going through it and sorting all the bits that needed sorting, so the nice thing about the car was it has very little rust or virtually no rust, which is pretty unusual for us. It's done I bought it done 122,000 miles.
Okay.
So not, I mean, from a US terms, pretty small mileage, I think.
That's not that's nothing. Yeah, that's
a couple of years to the shops, but
especially on the diesel engine, that's
exactly
that's 15 times the expected life of the 6-cylinder motor.
Yeah, and of course, you know how many times you've had to have filled up for that as well.
My God,
the 6-cylinder.
Exactly. Yeah, every day. Yeah.
But so it went there, and so we ended up replacing. I mean, pretty much standard stuff, really. I mean, I like my cars to drive well, so even though it didn't necessarily need it, I got all the suspension replaced, so all the springs, dampers, which again just transforms the ride. Handled really nicely. And then the good old viscous coupling unit that needed replacing, so that was done. And then I had quite a few rubber bushes and sort of what they called, they're basically the sort of the O-rings that go around lots of the drivetrain components.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
So they needed replacing. So a lot of that was done as well. Got all the. So luckily, the engine, the 1.8, is renowned obviously for overheating. But that was so the previous owner to me had actually bought it as a non-runner. Because the engine had overheated and seized. So he'd already taken care of that. So that was good.
Excellent. Do you know how many miles approximately are on the replacement engine, or?
Well, it's not a replacement; it's a rebuild.
Oh, they just rebuilt the seized engine. Oh,
yeah. So basically, it's quite common for them to basically overheat and the heads warp, and not the head. Sorry, the head gasket. Is what goes.
Yeah, it goes.
You basically have to replace it with longer bolts, I believe, and that sort of sorts the problem.
That makes sense. Okay.
And so basically, I think it's done a few thousand. I mean, it was the lady who had it before me. It was her daily driver. So I think she basically got another car, parked it up, left it for a couple of years, which is why it sat there for so long.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's been great. So I've done about almost 2,000 miles in it since.
Wow. That is, that would be a record for that vintage of car, even new. And have you taken the little top off the back?
So not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No. If you're familiar with our climate
now,
Steve, you'll know that this is probably not the best time to be taking the off. But I am looking forward to doing that in the summer.
For the 3 weeks in the summer where it's nice.
Absolutely, that's it. I might get a half a day of that. But what I have done, and which is great, is what has been really fantastic is quite a few people have got in touch with me through my Instagram and said they love Freelanders and they've previously owned them and everything else. Anyway, one chap got in touch and I actually managed to buy from him a new old stock, what I call the shower cap, which was basically was like a little sort of temporary cover that goes on the back. It's not the soft back, but it's like a little sort of plastic cover that has like a thing that holds it off the bodywork. Yeah, so I managed to buy that in its original, brand new, never used packaging. So,
oh my goodness.
So I'm looking forward to the summer to hopefully not having to use it in the rain.
Hopefully
but
not
if
having
I do,
to use it. Yeah.
But if I do, if I'm caught short without my roof on, I can reach for my shower cap, put it on the back, and I'm a happy man.
And you're ready to go.
That's it. I'm fully sealed.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the topless adventure.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be full back off. Take the glass.
Oh yeah.
The glass sunroof that also comes out. That's great. Incidentally, I've got the little blind that goes over the little sort of pull out, almost like a little Venetian blind that goes across the. So I've got those on mine as well, which is quite unusual.
This is a fancier Freelander than I thought.
It's a fancy Freelander, yeah.
This is really a full kit. Yeah,
I'm looking at maybe because one of the things that a bit like yours, Steve. It's the paintwork's looking a little bit faded.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how mine got faded because obviously mine's not based in California, so
there's no sun.
It's definitely faded. I think it seems like the Tangiers orange and Barriga yellow seem to just seem to take the sun a little bit badly.
It wasn't a good time for clear coats. That is for sure. There was that technology has come a long way. My paint is so far gone. I think we're just going to wrap right over top of it. I don't think we're going to try to correct the paint. Again, that would add 2-3 more times the value to the car. So we're probably just going to wrap it, and we've got to get all of our sponsor logos on there. Of course, we're still working on Nando's to sponsor the Undisputed King of Land Rovers. But yeah, wow, it's fantastic. We've got some exciting Freelander stuff happening here in North America this year. That'll news on that will come soon, hopefully. But the Freelander, I think, is really it's coming into its own renaissance period for Freelanders, if you will. And I think with individuals such as yourself of high note and repute, that owning a Freelander, it's now become a status symbol, I think.
Well, fun. That's the thing. Yeah. I it puts a smile on my face, and that at the end of the day, that's what you want.
Super fun to drive. Anyone who is skeptical, just drive one. And you'll realize why it's so much fun to drive for those brief periods of time when it's
actually driving. Yeah,
when it's working correct.
One thing I will say is that I was quite shocked because it's a 5-speed gearbox in the manual, and of course we've all got used to having these 6-speed, and of course I think there's an Evoque that has like 9 speeds. I think now.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And anyway, so you're doing about sort of 75, 85 miles an hour, and this thing is screaming.
Right.
It's like a few times I've turned into fifth, and then to go into sixth, and I realised I'm about to. No, there's no sixth.
There's no sixth.
Oh, but it's funny, isn't it? How the world's changed. How we're used to that extra gear now.
It's true. It's true. I mean, most of my day is spent between 4 gears, so that's all I need. I don't
that's
go
it. Overdrive.
No overdrive. No, I mean the wagon has overdrive, but the 80-inch no overdrive or brakes. So it's just you just go for it. That's
just
fine.
go. Keep going. That's it. Momentum. I had I still have a Citroen 2CV, and that was one of the things that I think is a great, and I think the same with Series 1. Because of the brakes and the fact it takes you so long to get to any sort of reasonable speed, it definitely teaches you about coming up to roundabouts without having to stop.
Yep.
How to keep momentum going through a corner, all those sort of things. I think, I mean, almost it should be mandatory for any new driver to drive an old car, because it just teaches you about, you've got to keep things moving. You've got to be planning ahead, all those sort of things. Because
if you come to
otherwise,
a stop, 15 minutes before you're going again. Yeah, no, it's just a major effort.
Synchromesh as well, so you have to come to a complete stop, otherwise it's a bit noisy.
Oh yeah, you're very actively driving that car. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it should be about it. And that's the bit that puts a smile on your face, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly. Anybody can just pilot it. Go to a golf cart if you want to do that. Exactly. It's about the same size as the 80-inch, but it's a totally different thing. Well, and speaking of golf carts, how about that for a segue? Finally, it's everyone's second favorite segment, Land Rovers in the movies.
Oh,
this week, one I know a film series you are quite a huge fan of, and this one is a Range Rover.
Okay.
What they're calling a Series 2 Range Rover, which I don't know what that means, but it's a 1995 P38A, I suppose. Yeah. It's a 1995 Land Rover Range Rover 2.5.
Okay, hopefully a P38A then.
Oh, 100% a P38, and it is in none other, as we know, the baddest ass of Range Rovers, the P38, John Wick, Chapter 3. This car was used by Halle Berry in the desert scene where he goes, I think he gets a finger cut off out there or something. I don't remember exactly, but Halle Berry famously meets him in the P38. And of course, that's the famous 2.5 liter BMW 6-cylinder that's in that.
Wow. I'm looking at a photo now. That's a pretty badass machine, isn't it? I mean, that's fully black with murdered out with the black wheels. It's got a little roof rack on it. And a spare wheel on the top. And
spare wheel on the top. Got a little roof rack on there.
That's it.
I had totally forgotten that Halle Berry drives this P38 in John Wick. You don't see a lot of P38s. It's not the most popular when it comes to a vintage Land Rover, nor have I ever heard it called a Series 2 Range Rover, but it's the P38 crowd, not unlike the Freelander crowd, is small, but desperately loyal. They love that P38. It's no one else does, but that crowd, they really do. They really enjoy the P38. I mean, of course, we never got that BMW diesel engine here, but from
was it a manual or an auto? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know what this car would have probably been manual though, right? With that engine combination.
Had both.
Yeah.
So I'm old enough to remember when that was new. And I did actually quite a lot of the photography for some of those vehicles. In fact, one of those cars I took to Val d'Isère.
Okay.
The French off-road show, and it was when it was the automatic had just come out, and it was one that did like to slip its torque converter.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So I remember you had to put it into low range to go up any significant hill, particularly altitude, because otherwise it would just be there desperately sort of trying to get the wheels to sort of go, whereas the engine was spinning but the wheels weren't. So,
we're not spinning. Everything was still. Yeah.
But he put it in low range, it was absolutely fine. But it was definitely the manual was probably the better bet.
Was a better bet back then, yeah.
So is this car for sale, Steve?
I don't think it's for sale. I don't know where it is. I mean, I believe that this portion of the film was shot in Saudi Arabia. And my guess would be that this would have been a locally sourced car. And it is probably very likely still there. Perhaps it's an enthusiast car that the film rented and it may be cruising around right now.
It'd be great to know where it was.
Yeah, I mean, the there is a number plate on it. I can't imagine that's the real number plate. That's probably a film.
It looks Moroccan, I think. Moroccan number plate, looking at the photo.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I think, I can't remember why he was in the desert in this particular instance. I think he had to go see somebody or something. And so, but I do believe that, it was supposed to be Morocco or something like that, but I believe it was shot.
Well, I just Googled it, and there's a couple of really good phrases in this particular article. One thing, it says, historical significance, which I'm assuming refers to the car.
Yeah.
This generation introduced advanced air suspension.
That's true.
That's not entirely true. Actually,
well,
the
are they saying it's advanced air suspension?
Or maybe yes. They're saying
the classic had just air suspension.
This was the advanced one.
Oh, and of course, the P38's advanced air suspension is legendary in its reliability and longevity. So, no, you're absolutely right. Of course, the classic had air suspension.
In fact, two of mine have it.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have undone it, but
I think it gets a bad rap, and I
agree.
So I've got a 95 soft dash that I've had for years.
Yeah,
and I replaced all the airbags in that car when I first got it.
Okay,
and I've had not one problem since.
Fantastic. I mean, I know
it's all about maintenance. It's all about
you have to.
If you look after the car. It'll look after you.
That's exactly right. And I think all too often that's the case across the board. These cars get a bad rap because people are negligent, and perhaps a Toyota is slightly more tolerant to negligence. But you neglect anything, and it's eventually not going to work the way you want it to. So
another little phrase I like in this particular piece is the significance in John Wick.
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming that means it's John Wick, the series, as opposed to the significance of it being in John Wick.
Because
that would be unpleasant.
That's right.
It says used in the desert, symbolizing elite status with rugged capability.
It sounds like it's lifted right from the Land Rover, Range Rover marketing material.
Yeah, elite status with rugged capability.
I think that sums up the P38 in a single sentence. How can it be said any better? Capability, not reliability. I think that's it. Capability over all else. So,
but it does look great, doesn't it?
It does. It's cool. It's a cool spec and neat to. I wonder. You've got to ask the question: has this lit a fire for Holly Berry and encouraged her to source a P38?
I think we need a Wick edition.
Yeah, it could be. Oh, completely.
A Wick edition.
A Wick edition P38. Let's get on the phone to Michael Bishop right now. There's the next Classic Works project.
That's it, the Classic Works Wick project, edition. The Wick edition.
Forget about these workshop Defenders. Forget about those. That's passé now.
It's the JWE.
To work on JWE P38.
We need to ring ECD and get them to do a JWE.
Oh, there we go. It feels like it's right up their alley. P38's here, easy to source. None of them work, so easy to get. Stop by
no rust.
Your local junkyards, and you'll find a non-running, rust-free P38 just ready for taking.
What more do you want?
I don't know. Well, at that, we've come to the end of what is definitely going to go down in history as one of our better episodes with just the sheer amount of Freelander content.
Absolutely,
That's what the people come here for.
I think the only thing is it's definitely missing a bit of Ikeness, isn't it, really? That's the only side.
Depends on the audience. It's a good point. Where are you off to next, Nick? Where's the world of Land Rover taking you?
Off to next? Well, I'm going to be doing some work with a Range Rover. So obviously you probably know 55 years of Range Rover this year.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that in June. But that starts. I'm going to be doing some stuff in Austria.
Very cool. Okay.
So they're having a Range Rover house over there. So I'm going to be going out and doing some shots over there.
Nice.
So yeah, looking forward to that. And then I'll also be doing some more work with, a bit like I've done in the previous year, with the new Range Rover Electric, the fully electric Range Rover.
So coming up very soon here.
So some more testing work with that. So that's progressing nicely.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it's mostly Range Rover this year. I think certainly for the first half, anyway. So
fantastic. Well, it was all Octa up to this point, and now full on Range Rover.
Octa's done, so it's now Range Rover.
Wow. Fantastic.
The John Wick edition.
The John Wick edition, P38 Range Rover. So we'll get
future
right on that. Can't wait. I think there's money to be made there. There's gold in those hills. Well, Nick, it's been a slice as always. Appreciate your time and wisdom and just general Dimblebiness being lent to the show while Ike is away. And as
Always
you know,
a pleasure, Stephen.
You're always welcome, and it's always fun to chat. So with that, be well, and I hope to see you soon.
Take care. Look forward to popping over to come and see you. Or again, you're always welcome over here. So we'll press flesh soon.
That's exactly. Oh, hey, there we go. I'm a big fan of your body of work, so it's a perfect companion to that. Well, all right, we'll see you soon.
All right, take care. See you, Stephen.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.